Welcome back to the show. While global warming has been debated, most people agree that there have been significant changes in the global climate. In the last few years, we've seen more hurricanes, droughts, and severe weather. Some scientists say this will be good for plants because there will be more carbon dioxide, which they need to thrive. But a new study this week says grains such as corn, wheat, and rice might grow faster and even taller, but they'll carry fewer of the nutrients that people need, such as zinc and iron. Here's a closer look at climate change.
Democrats and Republicans are not on the same page, even when it comes to an 840-page report on climate change.
I hope that the public starts holding their elected officials accountable and asks them, what exactly are we going to do to prepare?
So even if we were to enact the kind of national energy regulations the president seems to want so badly, it would be unlikely to meaningfully impact global emissions anyway, unless other major industrial nations do the same thing.
The third edition of a congressionally mandated study gives Obama an opportunity to ground his campaign against climate change in science.
Whether it's increasing fuel efficiency standards on cars, increasing efficiency on appliances, but we also have a chance to turn back these rising temperatures if we take some bold actions now.
Later this summer, the White House plans to propose new regulations restricting gases that come from existing coal-fired power plants.
Tom Leyden, CEO of Solar Grid Storage, joins us, and we welcome back Dr. Bart Rossi, who's talking to us via Skype. Hi there, Dr. Bart.
Nice to be with you.
Well, we are going to talk about the political side of this in a few minutes, but let's just first get a few thoughts on just the global change. And Tom, we want to have this discussion with you and Dr. Lopez to kind of be the experts on this part. Does global warming exist in scientists' eyes? Tom?
I mean, that question's put to bed at this point. It's ridiculous for anyone to say that it doesn't. So I'm actually here today to talk about solutions to climate change.
Okay, Dr. Lopez?
Absolutely. I mean, the evidence is definitive. I mean, if you don't believe it, I mean, then the enterprise of science, we got to throw that out the window.
Dee Dee, your thoughts?
I don't believe it. I don't believe in climate change. And most Republicans don't. We think it's a big hoax. It's like, all I know is it was cold until yesterday. It's May. Where is this global warming? I would love to see this global warming because I've been freezing forever. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to me. I mean, I see the studies, I understand, but for thousands and millions of years, it's gone up and down, the temperature. So, I don't know, I don't believe it.
Well, I do want to check in with Dr. Bart. And Dr. Bart, we see a lot of folks like Dee Dee right here that seem to say, hey, this doesn't exist. What do you say to those folks?
Well, actually, I think this segment is really more about denial and repression than anything else. And as we know, Dee Dee is an excellent cheerleader for the Republican Party, a pretty win
thank
at that.
Thank you, Dr. Bart.
But however, I think she needs a new cheer. This is ridiculous to deny and use repression and say something doesn't exist. I mean, we see this in other areas in our country, in our lives, but denial and repression is a psychological defense mechanism. And in this case, Republicans have an ideology, an extreme right-wing ideology. They do not want to be linked in some way to some liberal cause, and it's not a liberal cause. It's just climate. And Dee Dee, weather is not climate. Yeah. Climate change is different.
Well, I want to give some facts right now. Since you're down there in Florida, Miami is actually being spotlighted right now. The sea levels have risen 8 inches higher, and they're saying that Miami is one of the cities that's in real trouble right now. Dr. Lopez?
Yeah, I mean, the effects that you see, I mean, Dr. Bart is absolutely right. There's a difference between weather and climate. Weather is localized to certain regions of the country. This is why this report that was just put out by all the experts, really the government put together a panel of experts, and these are a few hundred people from all over, university, government, you name it, well, even independent scientists, and all of them have come together and said that all of this is happening, that there is climate change which is affecting the entire planet, not just Florida.
And Tom, we want to get to some solutions, but Dr. Lopez, as the scientist here on our panel right now, what are your predictions if nothing really is done to stop this and bring some solutions? What are we going to see? More violent weather?
Yeah, I mean, what the models are showing is exactly that the average temperatures will increase by multiple degrees. 2-3 degrees globally is huge. I mean, part of what caused on the northeast coast Hurricane Sandy was that down at the equator, the ocean temperatures increased, and then that made it more conducive for a hurricane to start to form and make it up the east coast of that magnitude of power that made it from the equator up through the eastern seaboard of the United States all the way up to New Jersey, New York area.
And of course, they're saying there's more carbon dioxide as well, and that was one of the things that they were saying about the food that we eat, that they'll actually have fewer nutrients.
Well, carbon dioxide is a greenhouse. What that basically means is that it retains. So you have solar energy, which Tom can talk about, comes in, hits off the surface of the planet, and then because you have an increase of CO2, carbon dioxide, in the environment, it retains that heat. And then that starts to heat up the planet, and that's effectively what's happening.
And Tom, let's talk about some of the solutions. We saw some of the solar panels going on the White House today. I hope that makes you happy.
Well, it does. I mean, there were solar panels back in the Jimmy Carter days, and the panels
they made a big thing today in the news.
But yeah, Reagan took them off. But anyway, they're back.
Good man.
Yeah, they're back on. So anyway, we've seen kind of a shift in the environmental community and the business community. It's not about we need to stop climate change anymore. It's more than that. It's like we need to react to climate change because it's happening now, and we need to do things that will slow down climate change. And you know, I happen to be in the business, in the solar energy business, which is a partial solution to all that.
So talk to me about how that can help.
So when you look at the two biggest emitters of greenhouse gases in the U.S., it's transportation and it's energy generation. And both of those can be addressed with renewable energy. Electric vehicles, as an example, zero carbon emissions. Solar generates electricity with zero carbon emissions. And I mean, that is just displacing carbon that's being spewed out by coal plants and so forth.
And when you talk to the critics, like you're sitting next to Dee Dee right now, but when you do talk to the critics, how do you say this is happening? I mean, like obviously you're in the business, but I mean, how do you try and explain to people that this is truly happening?
Well, even someone like Dee Dee could understand Wall Street's reaction to the renewable energy space, right? You look at the three largest solar companies in the U.S. and their market cap's $15 billion. I mean, Warren Buffett, who is no left-wing granola cruncher, has invested $2 billion into solar energy projects.
That's like $3 for him, though. We got to be fair.
I want to get into the politics of the environment, but we're talking solutions right now.
Right.
So is taxing or regulations on oil, gas, and coal, is that something that should be done? Dee Dee, I have a feeling I know.
Do you really have to ask?
I know, but I have to ask you, and I want to get take the temperature from everybody here if you want to say temperature. So, sure. No pun intended.
I wish it was warmer. You know, like global warming. I wish it would get here. No, absolutely not. I mean, these are job killers. I mean, the coal industry is almost destroyed because of the Obama administration with all the regulations, and with oil. I mean, we should be drilling on our own oil, and it really is disturbing. So, and I hope you do better than Solyndra, because that was a huge waste of money. That was a terrible business. It did not work out at all. So I really hope you do much better than they do.
That's an interesting point, though, Dee Dee, about that. Tom, your thoughts? Taxing regulations on the.
So I'm pro-business.
Oil,
yeah,
gas,
right.
and coal.
I'm pro-business too, and Solyndra was such an old story. I don't even want to talk about it. But the U.S. solar industry has 142,000 workers now. That's more than the coal industry has. I mean, that's more than the steel workers have, and it's growing at 20 to 40% a year. So you can't deny that there's an economic opportunity by supporting renewable energy. So it's not only just something that's good for the environment, it's something good for our economy. And the U.S. could be a leader in this technology, and it has been all along. And obviously, it could proceed much more quickly if we had more support from our politicians.
Well, I was going to say, this is going to be a political question for you, Dee Dee. Is this something you should talk about if you want to win the Republican primary?
Negative. If you are for climate change, forget it. It's not going to happen. You will never win the primary. Republicans are pro-business. We're pro-economy. That's first and foremost. We don't care what's going on in the lab. Sorry about that. But right now, we care more about jobs, period.
But right now, and I'm going to we do have some elections coming up, and eventually the Republicans are going to have to address this question.
They'll say, just like Marco Rubio did, Senator Rubio, climate's changed forever. We don't know. How much do we really know about gas emissions and about, are these things really affecting it? Are you sure? because we question that. We don't believe it. We just don't believe it.
Well, let's talk about the rising sea levels, though, because that's something that I actually, of course, wrote the book, but I've also worked in the marine biology field, as you know, Dr. Lopez. Right. Let's talk about the rising sea levels.
I mean, you have, and the North Pole is melting. I mean, Alaska, part of what the report said, they divided the country up into 7 regions, and they brought it to Americans and said, look, this is what's happening to you, America, to the American people. And one thing I just want to comment on, I think Republicans are pro-people. I mean, pro-America.
Yeah, that's why we want businesses to thrive.
And people too. But I mean, if we ruin the planet, which I mean, you cannot deny that humans have not had an impact on the environment.
But how big of an impact? And isn't that bad of an impact? And is it worth getting rid and killing all these jobs? Most of us think no.
But there won't be, if the Earth is destroyed, there won't be jobs, Dee Dee.
But we have seen,
we've
absolutely seen evidence here in this area to our viewers who are watching us from around the world. We're in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. We've seen Hurricane Irene and Sandy just in the past 2 years. We never saw anything like that. And I can tell you, down at the Jersey Shore, which I'm very familiar with, there's areas that now flood that never flooded before.
Sure.
So we are seeing some changes that are absolutely, and cities like Miami are in dire straits.
I mean, Alaska too. I mean, Alaska. I saw that it just had an impact on me. Saw these pictures from the 1920s and 1940s, where it was all these ice-capped mountains and all these valleys, and now you see them and it's just green, and you're like, what happened?
You know, my business now is solar with storage, with energy storage, batteries, basically. And it's in reaction to all these extreme climate events where people lost power for multiple days. And so when you match solar with storage, when power goes down, you can continue to have your solar system operating and provide emergency power indefinitely.
And we do want to get final thoughts on what you can do. Dr. Bart, down in Florida.
Well, I think the psychology of the future and the business of the future is going to be green. And we need to express this to our conservative friends and have them realize that business will flourish if they.
And we do apologize for that technical difficulty right there. But in terms of final thoughts, there's no denying that there is also a lot of politics involved in the environment. Dee Dee?
When we talk green, I think we need to push green and jobs, not green and whatever you're doing.
Okay, Tom Leyden?
Well, I mean,
obviously, we know
we're pro-business, and you know, companies like Walmart has 4,000 rooftops in North America. That's like 8 nuclear power plants of rooftops, and they are aggressively putting solar on. It's just the argument about climate change is over. It's really now how fast can we move towards solutions.
And Dr. Lopez.
You can't deny the science. It's happening, all the reports. This is the 3rd report that has been put out there by our national experts in this area. It's happening. I think part of the solution is solar. It's reduce, it's reuse, the things you learn about in 3rd grade now that they tell students recycle, you know, reuse things.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Well, that's good
these
though.
are the
Nobody's
things.
saying that's wrong.
Okay.
We should do that.
And I think the one thing we all have to recognize is, well, we want our children and our children's children to have the earth like we had it. So we got to pass that on. I mean, and that's part of what we need. It's not political in my sense, but I am biased as a scientist.
Well, it certainly is. We need the world's cooperation, especially China's right now also. True. So thank you so much for your expert advice. Keep it here, everyone. Shame and Survival. That is the cover of Vanity Fair featuring Monica Lewinsky. Even before hitting the newsstands, it has provoked its share of reactions across social media. We'll talk it all out. The lightning round is next.